Hello guys, this is another Optinews video. I have a long since I last did one. I was doing my Bizarro report recently and some other things, but not overall news. But now since I haven't worked as much on Bizarro from the last time, although I have some news there too, and I've been doing a lot of other things. There are so many to cover. I decided to make the newest Optinews. So first thing, about a month ago or two, it's 21 of September, 21st of September. Yeah, almost 2 months ago, I visited Assembly Party, and we have been working on a DOS demo, which took part on the old school competition. It came second, and there were a lot of good stuff on this competition. There was the first demo demoted, which was also a DOS demo, really good. There was Poet is a bit slow now. There was Space Wolf for some Mac platform. We met the guy who did it, and we had a lot of good conversation. There was another DOS demo. There was a lot of good stuff in this old school combo. Nintendo 64 and other stuff. But our demo came second. It showed well. A lot of people like that. I'm very happy with this one. And this was something we started a long time ago. We do have a GitHub. I would like to talk about certain, but maybe not in this video, certain effect I did. Maybe I'll do some future videos. And it is a demo on a Pentium 1, written in C, mostly C, very little assembly, in collaboration with other people. And 320 by 240, 16 bits per pixel, VESA modes. I did some parts. Now, this part is mine. Some distance line drawing, actually a lot of blobs merged together. The part in the backgrounds, this rotating thunder is some effect from the third coder, the samurai. We are three coders, me and Nuclear. We did most of the stuff, and Samurai did a little bit thing, and then he was busy. He did this rotating thunder thing in the background, and I just reused it in my own screen here. He also did this nice, and some more stuff that didn't make it. This nice distortion on the water mirror thing. But we synthesized a different screen with that part. The 3D parts are from Nuclear. I'm gonna show you the demo later on the real hardware. I'm just gonna show you which parts were mine. All these are from Nuclear. Mine was that one of my favorite tests, doing multiple Julia fractals. There were a lot of optimizations to make this still run smooth. Several layers of Julia, maybe few iterations. And this is one of the two favorite parts of mine. This is a voxel landscape, ceiling rendering of double clouds high, and I found some ways to do water reflection and optimize it so that it's not single digits. And all these parts are mine. These are several dots. I think the resolution 32 by 32 by 32 dots, but if the effect, if the color of the dot is like a voxel cube of 32 by 34 each. If the voxel is 0, it's not gonna run. So fewer blobs are written, are blended in two 8-bit back buffer that I colorize later, and then I blend together, and I do some very fast radial blur first by doing 4 pixels at once. I could be using MMX, but we didn't do MMX code. Maybe there is a mem copy, a 64-bit mem copy or mem set somewhere. And then my more simple part, the bump mapping. I wanted to do more with this. And this is the RGB bump mapping and some distortion. Now this is from Nuclear, the metaballs, and this metaball thing. This is my final part, the final thing I did, and this is again a favorite thing. I've done this effect, the water effect, many years ago in LED blur. But it used to be water getting out, object getting out of water and doing ripple, so the plane was vertical. It was much simpler. By the way, the object is taken from this code. You see this object. This is the same geometry I use here. Code reuse. Also, a new improved software 3D engine, and this was my favorite because I wanted to do an infinite plane through the distance where the water goes in, and there are reflections from the clouds, and this object doing ripple. You might notice that there are some ripples there. The texture repeats over there. I would have needed to do it much higher or handle it different. Horizontal, it's a plane. Horizontal is more wide. It's a 512 by 256 water effect, which I optimized in a special way, interacting with the object. The object goes below, it's transparent, there is rain. This and the voxel is my favorite. The favorite things are the things I'm very proud. How they look and everything, and how water reflection are very impressive to me. And the cloud thing, the floor map. And this is the third part that those are the parts that most people liked anyway. The bump and others are. I mean, I kinda like this one because there's so much involved, so many blobs to blend together, and radial blur and everything. A lot of these parts would the initial version would go sometimes even single digits. I had to do a lot to get some good frame rate. And this is it basically. I'm gonna show you now the video capture from my Pentium 233 megahertz. now I'm not gonna spend much time. I have opened the Visual Studio project we have. The main framework is mostly done by Nuclear. A lot of this, the majority of the demo framework, building for Linux, Windows, Mac, Android, SGI, IRIX. If you see here, there is an Android port, but also I don't know if it shows the ports. There are a lot of ports for. Yeah, in the package. If you download the demo package, you're gonna find. Yeah, here it is: Linux, MS-DOS, Windows, MS-DOS, FreeBSD, Mac OS. I haven't tested most of them. It runs a lot, really good in a lot of my Android devices. There is a Raspberry Pi. But the basic thing was running on DOS. So here, if in order to test, I set debug to true, I select the screen voxel space, and I would. Now this is about. Now DOSBox is not the best thing. DOS demo. I would do WMA. Now this is the Open Whatcom build, but we also have a DJ GPP build. I built on Whatcom here to try, but the final build goes with DJ GPP to, because it's kind of more optimized. But even here, I would try something built. I like to see it on even a DOSBox emulator, even if people will say it's not so good, but that's fine. For prototyping, it's okay. And here I have disabled the automatic path, and I can actually move around. Now this is Whatcom, it's not the DJ GPP build. The reflection is the heaviest, so you get 20 frame with the reflection. Even on the actual Pentium, you will get 30, 40 flying, depending now. If you go here, of course, you're gonna get some good numbers. And this is DOS, is not representative, this is DOSBox. The pure reflection was very slow, and I did some kind of distance map through the reflection traversal to skip a lot of pixels. And sometimes you might find in certain views, you might see a bug. It's hard to recreate. It's not very. Maybe here on the distance. But I've chosen a path that mostly works. I've done some crossfade in the distance. I'm gonna show you those. But it even kinda blends so that it's not some dark blend. It's weird, it's ghosty. Here you see the reflection is cut here. So I will do WMake here to build it. Change something and rebuild. And here is the Windows port, but much later I started developing here to develop much fast. Of course now the frame rate is crazy here. And here, for example, I could decide demo path on. I think, okay, here it's not gonna run. I might have to press F2, I think. So you press maybe F1. So you start the script. That's weird. And forget about that. Oh, maybe it's on debug mode. It's gonna build everything now. On debug mode, it's gonna throw it on a windowed mode. I don't remember. So we have some keys. When you design a path, Oh no. Oh fuck now. I'm streaming a video. I don't want to take 10 minutes. Maybe here I'll press. I forgot. It's been a F1. Okay, F1. And now I see the path. It goes to the path. Fades in. For the path, I was moving with the interactive version at places. I was pressing a button to save position. And Nuclear's framework had some Bezier, B-splines and that stuff which I used. So I tried to use for the clouds. I tried to not re-implement things. I used Nuclear had Berlin noise functions so on, and I used them. So I guess only on debug mode. And you don't need to run the release here. And now I'm gonna show you some things. I can put the visibility to something crazy. Yeah, and it happens, yeah, the visibility is much better. Very far distance, okay. Some of the lakes might be repeating. It's really cool. And then you go there and you build that. I made the change, so I built it. But now this is running on 144,000 cycle, which I assume it's about the Pentium 233. And of course, it's very slow. That would be good for a Pentium 2 or Pentium 3 demo. Anyways, now let's reduce that. I will see if I can enable this one. Let's see this one. This is the visualization of the distance map. Yeah. I don't know if it's correct. I mean, if it's precise, it's something that works. I generated myself. I got the original from our artist D-Star. I got the original really good. Before that I was using the typical commands landscape. I got the color map and the height map. Yeah. The height map looks similar to the visualization, but this is a third visualization. Also, I converted them into something. We don't pack those files, we generate the final file. I converted them. Color map. These are 8-bit values and the palette, 256 color palette. And this is the height map, 8-bit values. And this is something I generate. Initially, this was also 1 megabyte. But I decided to make it much smaller to maybe save on not having much cache hits. Although it didn't help much. I'm not sure if it helped with the... Those maps are very huge anyway. And also for reducing memory usage. Our demo, we say that it needs 32 megabytes. I don't see the info file here. 32 megabytes. But I managed to run it with 24 megabytes. If you go lower, I couldn't go. I went from 16 to 24. With 16 it crashes. It doesn't. It doesn't have enough memory. With 24 it's possible to run it. Maybe we are at 2022 or something. And the thing is, I will need to finish it. So I have this height map. I can use the color map, it doesn't matter. Actually, the color map is the... or the height map, it doesn't matter. I know that certain voxels are water. Anyway, maybe I should explain that at another point. What I've done is that when you hit water, you have to do an extra raycasting step by step to see till you hit the landscape or it goes outside and hits the sky. You have to do many small steps for every sample of water. So it's knee sample of water by another knee steps. It goes, the complexity, the performance go n squared. So I kind of save, there are some water areas. Maybe I should run. So, oh my god, I can't even, okay, I'm gonna take a screenshot. I don't want these videos to be too big, because it always happens like that. So I will explain very little. So, as I'm sampling, sampling. If you hit a solid voxel, you're like, okay, I'm gonna render them. But if you hit water, for every pixel, like every sample, you have for every one of them run an extra raycast, where you go step by step. Again, you move many steps, and so it's like 50 water samples in that ray multiplied by 20, 50, 100 steps till you hit something. Now, if you sampled for a very close voxel, then this is gonna hit fast and it's gonna finish earlier. If you sample from here, it's gonna take a long time. Maybe it's not even gonna hit. It goes a bit up because of the reflection. It might hit the sky. It might go above. It might hit below. It depends. I mean, all of these are hitting the sky, but I did some generation for every height map, every voxel in the height map. Like in this point, safe. Again, so the safe distance. Like if you are on this water, you can move several steps before you first hit anything around the... Here you have to the circle or the cone. There is a cone that goes higher, a reversed cone that goes higher. I just did some ad hoc solution to that. I figure out with some generation code going around in radius on all over direction. What is the safe? Here you might hit. Now it could go the other way and you might not hit, but you might hit there. It's not the best thing. You might hit after 5 steps anything. So it's safe to jump 5 steps in front, not go every step, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and check repeatedly. Do I hit? How do I hit? Here you could go 50 steps, and then at that point sample the distance map again, and now you can go 10 steps, and now you can go. It's like those distance map marches, but on. And I have some code where I generated. Maybe it's out. Maybe it's commented out. Maybe it's outside. Where I generate some kind of distance map, and maybe where it's white, you can. The brighter it is, the more steps you can do. Close to the ridges, it might be less steps, and that accelerated the thing from single digits to double digits, let's say. Anyway, guys, I have to move to the next thing now because this is getting crazy. So, I've done a little thing on Bizarro Untergrund. I did something very important though. I did some subdivision system. I don't know if I can visualize it. And I did some other things. Do you remember I had the issue? I would go near. I would do that, and you would have disappearing walls because it was very close. Now there is some kind of subdivision. I don't know if I can show you. Now there is still a bit of disappearing. It's not. It didn't fix. See above the distortion. You can do it, but it's much. See on the lower corner. Yeah, I'm gonna fix it, but it was way worse. Now you can move in the walls and not realize it. You can go here in the corners in those and not even see it. It works better. I would have texture being distorted, disappearing. Two things happens. I do a 2x2 subdivision, and I also handle the very close polygons differently. The reason wasn't just the polygons that are on negative Z very close. If you look at here, this quad, the polygons are still positive Z, the vertices of this quad. If I rotate the camera, the ones on the right side where it even distorts, you see the distortion. And it's even subdivided in 2x2. They would, I don't mind much the distortion for now. But the polygons would disappear and you just see the stars. Like in this rare case. I'll figure that out too. It goes way worse. Maybe if I'm not diagonal, it's better. Anyway. And there were many reasons. One other reason was really that the fixed point precision went off the rails. And now I'm happy that it's mostly fixed and it didn't affect the performance. It still does really well. It does what it did before it didn't, despite all the hacks I had to do. Because one thing I'm doing, so I would be doing the subdivision. If some vector is, some vertex has negative z, you still have to not skip that polygon and subdivide into, and it will still fail, or for other reason. And the reason is you will see what the reason is. I would always forget that one. For the perspective projection, I would do this. No, I will do the one below. That was RCZ, a reciprocal divide by Z in fixed point that I would multiply by the thing and then shift back, which were fine, but for very close points things were happening. Now if you do the actual division, which is way slower, you're gonna be fine with polygons disappearing close, even after it did all the other things, because that's 1/3 of the fix. Now I ended up saying, okay, if the Z coordinates it's very close to something, forget about the number. This ends up being something very close, a very close value. So only for very close points it's gonna do the actual division. Now, if I disable them, oh come on now. I can't believe it. Yeah, of course. I'm slower than I want again because of that stuff. See how easy it disappears. And even some things happen there. And things are flashing. I couldn't figure it out. That was 1/3 of the reason. Because I subdivide the close quads to 2 by 2. I was gonna show you that, but so a way to show you that is to hack it, to visualize it, and hopefully it's not gonna take. I wasn't prepared for that. Yes, okay. And you see the polygon. The polygons in the far. Each one of them is one. That one is one quad, one quad, one quad. Now these are 4 quads really, but I just make them smaller. So it does subdivide the close ones. And it's a funny visualization, very trippy, especially with the stars. You can see the stars there. So the subdivision is working with distance. But I put the wrong cell rendering size. And you go from a 32 by 32 to 16 by 16, but because I said it's 32 by 32. So now you see that the other part of the puzzle is the subdivision. I did the subdivision, it took me long. There are very few polygons that are subdivided and you don't see it. I have the loading, of course. Far away textures are more low resolution, and the subdivision. There are so many things happening to make this work. The loading is for texture speed on the distance. It's not very visible. See this, I can even point to it. That the 3 gems, red gems, they get blurry. I can change those ranges, they get even more blurry. They switch to lower res texture. This has to do with the level of detail on texture. This was for the performance. It helped a bit, not as much as I thought. And then you have the subdivision, the close enough. The 2 close go from 1 quad to 4 smaller quads, so that it works well when big polygons are closer. You get those distortions disappear, but it still failed because I didn't do the actual division. Now I could, with the reciprocal multiplication, I could have handled it in a way that I don't have overflows. I could have handled it in a different way. But doing this only for CloseGL, the performance didn't. There are very few polygons, very few vertices I have to do. So you have the subdivision, the Z, and there was also something else. I used to have those flags to check if the points of a polygons are inside, they are on the sides, on the left and right side. There could be a polygon that some vertices are outside of the screen, but one vertex is inside, so you still had to render it, whether you subdivide it or not. and I added the outside near Z, outside far Z. Now the far Z, the far away polygons, I just discard the polygons. If any of the vertices is far, very far in the distance, I discard. The near, you might have three vertices that are positive Z and the other is negative because of which happens if you go on the side of a wall, if you go here. Now this green line, half of the quads are inside Z, the other are behind me, behind Z, but you still have to render it. That was another reason it would disappear. So I solved these three problems. Handle different when I decide whether I should render a polygon depending. Outside far Z is not inside. Inside I will take it. If one of the point is inside but the others are near far Z, because this is something where I take the 4 points, I order each individual vertex, if it's outside, inside, which part of the screen, and I instead of doing a lot of check, I have a big table that tells you. This is for the ordering. This is a different thing for the backface scaling. And I handle things accordingly. Anyway, so this is the big thing I did on the engine. There are one or two technical things I would like to complete before I start making the gameplay. And there is the one thing is those special cases with the little corner still disappear. It's like 95% good. And the other thing is about the areas, the visibility areas, which are now 32. And I want to change something in the level data structures, in the grid map data structures, without spending more memory. Make it possible to store more area indices, so I can split them up in 256 areas or something. I know how to do it. It might end up being easier than the pain I had to make this code. I mean, if you see the log, last time I worked with this was 2nd of September. That's August. So we finished on August with assembly. I went for my holidays in Greece. That was something I did in Greece with the memory thing, which I used the memory. And I started at 24, and all of this, I was fighting with the loads. 24, 5, 6. Okay, it took me 3-4 days, maybe a week. And that is with Bizarro Untergrund. And let's move to the other stuff. So the other thing is, I have been working with various engines recently. I don't know, I have a lot of unfinished engines. I always do, and I want to do something with them. I want to do a game or something. I want to stop just making tech demos, and demos and stuff are fine, but it's like you do something, you find it impressive, you want to show previews like I do right now. A long time ago, I started, that was 10 years ago, when I was in Glasgow, when I wasn't even where I am now. I decided to start again an OpenGL engine and hopefully start using vertex arrays and VBOs and make it load shader and do something more recent. I'll tell you how I started looking at this. And that was an old thing, 2015, 10 years ago. And I was writing more C++ then. And I wanted to do something with a tree node, a scene data structure, a scene graph where I organize things in tree and nodes and components for rendering, for meshes, for texture, for stuff. I wanted to do something. I was a bit, in my last job, I was working on open scene graph. Now Now I work on something that is similar, Open Inventor. Those are old and they are still based on trees. And then we moved to Unity and it had trees and components and other stuff. And I wanted to do something similar, but just in the code data structure. And I stopped there and I looked back at it at 2020 and I got back to it and started playing with it again. And I might want, it's not a bad thing. I found some old projects of mine where I was trying to get more into C++ style. And it's still not bad. I still like it. So I have some classes that are more like static classes to load to load. It doesn't have any object. I'm using it to load stuff. I had some classes, many little classes though, and I was doing something there. I was doing something called components. Some of them are all empty. A lot of little things. Render node, but more C++ style. Now I like to write more C style. I might use some of my project being .cpp, but I just write structs and arrays. I avoid for some reason creating too many classes. Now this one I was creating a lot of classes, and maybe I have some base classes somewhere. This is the render node. I mean the. I don't have a node. I should have a node. I have a component, for example, with some virtual something. I don't even know if it's a good C++, but now I have inheritance, light component, mesh components. And I was doing something in my old demos a long time ago. I did CloseGL. Later I did Quinine, not Quinine, I did some 4Ks there. I haven't coded much OpenGL and I might be missing it a bit, however, that was 2009, that was 2000, oh okay. That was my first shader demo, and I was looking, I found the code of this one, and I was like, GL vertex all the thing. I didn't know about vertex arrays, VBOs, and so on. And I was just doing it the most standard slowest way. And this one I was learning from Neche tutorials. I even used, I'm gonna show you. These particles this particle is from Neche. I got it from the tutorial and used it for my demo. I didn't even bother make my own. Come on. It's Poet these days. And I didn't know. So much later, I decided to get back into OpenGL and make an actual engine. But maybe I'm not over, it's not so, the C++ projects that are really complicated in the real world are way more complicated than this. I think it's okay. Anyway, so I have a system. I don't know if I can find it. Where's my scene here? I call it game main. Where I get the root node. I add It's all like a tree. Okay, add the render node, the landscape, some body, mesh 2D nodes, and every object has a. You add a render node and a mesh component. You add those mesh components. New render mode that takes a mesh component. But you could have a light component. I just organize it like this. Anyway, I'll run it because I'm talking too much. And this is the engine. Some big landscape. And those very detailed objects I found. Armadillo, which has 500,000 polygons. 2 lights. The texture is, I didn't know what to do for texture, and maybe I just made a pattern. And this is with VBOs, okay. And you see the frame rate on the right, it's like 80 something. Because if you, it's like 64 of them, it might go to 12 million polygons, maybe. I think those guys have 500,000 polygons. But now, yeah, if you create a mesh component, I have these flags. And if it finds them, it's gonna upload, it's gonna create the VBO, the vertex buffer objects for each of them. But I think somewhere, if you pass it known, it's not gonna create any VBO, and it's gonna render vertex array. And maybe this is on the render node, render. It goes to the render VBO. I just made it like this, render, find all references. Ah, no, it is still here. Okay, so I'm doing not mesh bind flags because BF known is not 0. That's kind of stupid. I need to change this. It's not very obvious. So if you set it to known and there is nothing set, it's gonna say there is no VBO, so I'm gonna go for VS. If you set to anything there is some VBO to upload. And it's gonna, I could organize it better. It's either gonna render VAs or VBOs. I could make those two into one, because those are very similar. Enable client state. The difference is the bind buffer and the vertex pointer. Now we also give the difference is the buffer. Okay, I know now that those could be one function where inside it could decide what to do. And maybe give a different call. And also I have GL draw elements and array. If it's indexed, if it's not indexed. So I did a nice system. So if I go here and decide BF known, BF all. Where's the component? Yeah, the default BF default, the default value is obviously BF all. That's a bit, you can see it. Someone told me this kind of thing, having one argument, having a default value is not always good, because you might write this, it might not be visible that what you do. It's like you should ask. Now here I was searching, where is BF all or BF something? I could say BF indices BF. I could do it like that, okay, or I could just say, okay, I'm sending everything anyways because that's what I generated. And also no, I'm in the wrong place. Come on now. Here. It's even bind flags. Maybe I have it like that. Although here I'm just giving like that. It should be forced to that. What am I doing here? So that's an old one. I remember you were forced to write the whole thing. Anyway, now I'm sending all these armadillos with vertex array. BF known. Mistake. So I want to force it to have vertex arrays. It's that you can see the speed. And now it has vertex arrays. Oh my god, this is slower than I remember. You see now. And if we say, okay, you're gonna show one armadillo with vertex arrays. This is one armadillo with vertex arrays. And see the frame rate, 46 frames. 46, 50. If you do 2 by 2 by 2, 8 of them. Vertex arrays. It's just interesting to see the difference. And now you can have 64 of them and much better frame rates. Maybe put 216. Oh, 25 frames. It's cool, isn't it? So I had some engine there with mouse look with stuff, but there is a lot of things to do. I haven't added those lights. I just do GL enable lighting at some place, and I haven't implemented, and they are directional lights. I haven't implemented the light component. You might see that they are empty. I had a shader component, it's empty. So I can attach shaders. So that was an unfinished engine. But so how did I start getting interested in writing some OpenGL again after a long time? I always tend to write software rendered engines. I found the old source code from this thing I wrote 20 years ago. As I said, from Naked tutorial I didn't know better. And I set up an old Pentium 2 with GeForce 4 MX, but PCI. That thing didn't even have an AGP. That at least the motherboard I have that doesn't seem to have an AGP slot. So I found a PCI GeForce card. Now it's GeForce 4 MX, it's not the GeForce 2. So that gives it an edge for the graphics render. But I managed to run it. Pentium 2 is slower CPU. And I realized some of the parts were running okay, some of the parts were running horribly slow. And it wasn't because Pentium 2 is slow, it was because when I wrote this demo I must have a Pentium 4 and I was doing, at first I thought, okay, I'm doing GL vertex, all the things. No vertex array, no VBOs, no triangle quad strips. That's another thing I have seen. I haven't investigated at the time how to make things fast. because it was fast in my computer. And it was okay at the time, even the party combo. It looked okay, although there were a lot of timing issues and another. And I found the old code, which I just uploaded the code, and this is the CloseGL revival. This is not the old code of the demo. The old code for reference is here. This is the code that I recompiled. I just made the release, and there is even a binary if you want. If you want to run on a Pentium 2 with some GeForce. It's running okay now. Some things are running at 60 frames, some things are 30, some things are 20. It's no less than 20. But the old thing was running like crap. And I'm gonna show you how. Yes, some parts were running slow. Some parts were running horribly slow. And I thought it was the mathematics, it was the very bad code on very bad OpenGL code, GL vertex, everything. But no, I'm gonna show you one part. You remember this thing with the and maybe I'm a bit ashamed about that. Maybe it's here, maybe it's here. That thing with the flower at the very end that was like 3 frames per second, 2 frames per second. Let's find it. Oh boy. What you see here is a lot of math, but it's not that. This was partially it. I was calculating stuff. Of course, here I was doing GL vertex everything. GL text code, GL color, GL begin, GL close, blah blah blah. But what was the worst offender? Dude. Ew. Bruh. 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 This is looping over every point of this spherical object. This is about 9,000 points. It's calculating with sines and cosine stuff, calculating some spherical stuff and distorts it. And I was calling SDL get ticks per point per frame 9,000 times by 5 times 40,000 times. I was calling SDL get ticks every. When I saw that, I facepalm. I was like, ew, bruh, ew. And I searched everywhere. Okay, these are the ripple things from the water. These are happens once per frame. It's mostly that, but maybe here. It's okay, these are outside. Oh! I call this to render every individual particles you have, every individual particle. That's why the other flower thing is also much slower. And I happen to call that. And also, here is the worst thing. I end up setting this to 1. So this is writing the quad once. I used, when I was learning and I was doing funny things, I used to do that so that I multiply, I render a lot of quads, and maybe that's not the best thing. With some timing, sine, cosine thing on top of each other to do the blob, these blobs, this particle, make them glow, you know, glow. And that was part of the experiment. But for the final demo, I say, let's disable that, and I put that. I didn't put that. Dude, I shipped the demo like this. At the end, it's just one. You don't even need to do this thing per blob, per particle. Unfucking believable. And if you see now the codes, that's the new one. There are so many changes everywhere. Now, it seems like it's doing fewer things. There is no SDL getting, there is a global time here. And also, it seems like it's doing more, but it's doing less because I also, after I fixed that and I went from 3 frames to 912, that's the last thing I did. I fixed the mathematics. I calculated a lot of these mathematics things could be calculated outside, and that gave me even more speed. And it was mainly this, and then of course it was. This is the old code, this is the new. You can see it with the differences. I made some vertex array stuff, and because the old code, this is the old code, it has all this. This is GL vertex. It wasn't easy, and it was I minus y, I plus 1 to go around left vertex, the vertex below. But also, for some reason, a lot of the effects, I split it in 4 quads, and the loop is twice. Was it unrolling? Was it because I couldn't connect the nearby indices? I was confused by something. So it's not even 1 quad. So it was hard to write the vertex array, to replace it with vertex array. So what did I do? I made macros mgl, m underscore gl vertex, m underscore gl, m underscore, which really is pushing to my gl vertex array stuff. I set those to the beginning of those tables. So to help myself, I didn't have to do much. I just put an m underscore everywhere, in it before, and after rendered vertex arrays. Now this is a double loop, and initially I would do. Okay, here I do it outside because this floor has very few quads and it doesn't matter much. So this is a Z loop and an X. It's a 2D loop for the 2 degree. Most of that stuff are used some 2 degrees. And then I give one final call, GL quads. I'm even passing the type, the count, and some other stuff to know what I'm gonna push. But here I did another optimization. I couldn't get speed in some stuff, especially the water. The water was, despite using vertex array, I went from 12 frames 12 frames per second to 11 frames per second. It even seems that I lost one, or at least the same. I don't know why. I was even asking Grok to explain to me. I couldn't figure it out. But it goes in the water effect. This is also bigger. It's 128 by 128. 16,000 quads, 32,000 polygons. Triangles. 16 quads. I'm still doing it with quads. I tried with triangle strip. Grok said triangle strip might be faster. It was the same, but I kept it. Oh, that's not a good example. So I send the quads every line, the quad strips. If it's quad strips, I have to render the, because the next quad is below. It's not belonging in the same string. I did that mistake before and I got some errors and I was like, how do quad strips work? Anyway, I did all this work. I did optimize a bit of mathematics. I did optimize some of my, I used to have some more, I had a lot of arrays. I don't need to use the extra arrays. I don't need to reuse. I could do some more work to reduce the memory. When I run it, I'm about 40 megabytes weight. Maybe I was at 48, 56. So you could still possibly run it on a Pentium 2 with 64 megabytes. Maybe 128 megabytes because of Windows. I haven't tried. My Pentium 2 has 256 megabytes. I tried to make some memory reduction. But it was the optimization, and the optimization, previously I was getting from 3 frames per second, 9, 12, 15. I had VSync on. I also put an option to disable VSync. And now I get, the worst thing I get in the water is 23, 24 frames. Then I might get 30, 36, 40 something. And 60 also. Oh God. A lot of these things are grids. This is a grid. This is a 128 by 128 maybe, or 64 by maybe 128 with, it's a height map grid. That went a bit better. It's just vertices and colors. This is the one I want to speak about, but let's see. This might be heavier because it's 128 by 128 grid for the water. I have vertices, normals, and texture coordinate. There are more data. And that's where maybe, I don't know, vertex array, I don't know why it didn't get from vertex array. I did the water below too. The water below is some distortion thing. A smaller, maybe it's 64 by 64 or less. Everything. This spherical object, it's a grid, but it's wrapped around in a sphere. Everything was based on grid of quads in this demo. And now this one. What was the clever thing I did with this one? Every side of the cube is a 64 by 64 grid of quads. And I changed the color. I calculate those demo effects the old school way in some array. And I changed the vertex colors. That was in the old demo. I even have some optimization that I check if which of the 6 sides of the cube is visible. So I don't send 64 by 64 6 times. I send 3 times at best. But at the time, I knew that you could also upload texture, but maybe somewhere I heard somewhere that, oh, texture uploading is too slow, you shouldn't do it. And I wasn't sure if there is a proper way to do it, and I avoided it. Because I had this grid generation engine, I had some cool in the grid calcs. I have some good generic interpolator that I might use, maybe on the vertex. Man, where is it? Maybe in the grid calcs. See, I reuse it, and it's doing some interpolation on x, y, z plus. It gives 4 points. It's kind of like on the 3DO, you have a texture and it interpolates the grid. It's really the 3DO way, man. With small quads, every texel is a quad, a flat quad. And I would be calling it the past. Do I still call? Is this the old code? I don't do it anymore. Did I forgot? Now I'm definitely. Yeah, maybe I don't do that anymore. Okay. I'm gonna have to check it. Because later. Am I in the old code? I have optimized this. And I still do the. I'm not sending the points, but I don't need to calculate. Unless I had to calculate them for some reason. Ah, okay. This is where I calculate the effects, of course. Am I still doing this thing? I'm not supposed to be doing. Maybe I replace it. Yeah, I replace it with textures. Now, okay. This is one full cube surface. This is one quad now. Now this is one quad. Before, there was some code. Flat grid new. Yeah, that was the old one. I might kept it because I used it for something very light. I got the loop and send GL color vertex. I did it in vertex array. It went from 15 frames or whatever 20 to 30. And now this part went to 60 because I'm calling texture sheet and I'm uploading the texture, which is the text polar, and I guess somewhere I'm calculating the effects. Anyway, I'm not gonna go long. I'm taking again more time. I need to stop. So that was another stupid thing, but it was fun. I was doing it the 3D way. This one went even further. And if I wanted to spend time more with this, it would have gone really far. You could try to do some, I don't know, Pentium 1 with some GeForce 2. You could try to do some really good stuff. If I really want to push, but I pushed it enough to have a demo that at worst the water runs at 24 FPS on this Pentium 2 and other things. And the card is even a PCI. It's not even an AGP, and there is no AGP slot in this one. Maybe it's a bit faster with AGP to transfer the stuff. I don't know. And that's it with this one. And this is the whole thing that started me looking at Quinine Engine, because I wanted to see how do I do vertex arrays and VBOs. I never did VBOs because it's not supported by this card, but it might be supported by extensions. But I think the effects I'm doing are dynamic. It's changing the vertices dynamic. So I don't know how I would handle it with VBOs. I don't have, except for the little 3D DAG, I don't have any other thing. So I didn't bother to look using the VBO extension for this one because I would have to re-upload the vertices all the time. It wasn't worth it. And now my final project, the most exciting thing I'm doing now. And I need to see how I'll go with this one. The thing is, there was a bigger engine I was developing, but in software rendering, but for modern PCs. I wanted to go back and use all my knowledge and my hacky stuff from the DOS demo, GP32, GamePack 32 demos, all the other stuff, all the various from various software renderers I was writing. I even forgot to tell you that at some point I'm gonna post something in the future. I was doing the BugoEngine QB, which was a quick basic software render that runs well enough on a Pentium, just displaying single objects though, with Guro and it's pretty impressive. I wanted to make a video about this because not a long time ago I made public my BugoEngine QB, and I never worked on this one again. And I think where is my... Yeah, I need to find my posts. I had a preview. I had a preview in this channel too. Anyway, forget about this. So I've been doing a lot of software rendering, but I never tried to continue with one and finish it and improve it and maybe make a game with it. And I was inspired by Choding's post where it's like, why can we do software rendering games? They used to do that in 1998 and the CPUs are way bigger now. And it's true. It's true because the recent one I'm doing is getting really impressive, and it's still single core, and I still will investigate some things different. For this one, I go floating point for the 3D transformation and all to avoid overflow. I mean, you don't need to do everything fixed point. For the moment, I got my triangle rasterizers, texture mappers and so on that used to be fixed point. I ported them, fixed them a bit, added new stuff, and still the pixel processing is still fixed point, but I think I'm gonna try to implement a floating point pixel processing there too, and even check the performance. But it doesn't matter because even with this one, it's really impressive, and I have a lot of stuff. Maybe I'll put some full screen. I'm at 720p. Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep it at 720p. And I'm gonna run it. So you see the frame rate. I have some heavy objects here. I don't even need to have this heavy object. These are the dots. I did something with my colors. Let me enable a funny thing. It's gonna make things slower if you have the dots, but... See, I'm doing that again. Oh god. I have not prepared again. Yeah. I did this stupid thing which has sines and cosines. It's not the best thing. Just to make the stars... Do you see the stars? They have colors but they glow. the star glow a bit. And I'm gonna do it better in the future. But now, because I haven't changed the points color, this is gonna affect all the colors, all the points. It's doing, for some reason, it's doing this very psychedelic. And look how many points, and look at the frame rate. So we are okay with transformations. And look at the other fun now. Wireframe. And not only wireframe, but the wireframe. Those objects are very, 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 very heavy. They are test objects. If I make a game, I don't even need to have those kinds of objects. Now look at this. They are idealized. I'm gonna remove the idealizing. They are regular now. Idealized, regular. And now if I put the points, they are idealized points. They are whole pixels really. Regular. And when I put the regular, they are darker. Idealized, regular. And now, flat shaded, I made a checkerboard pattern. Even if every quad is 4, I scaled up the every 4 quads makes a big quad. I have a function to I have some extra structure I add. I want to make it better than my other engines. I can set individual colors on the polygon. So I can say this polygon is greenish, but it will also be affected by the lighting. There are polygon normals and vertex normal. Now it uses the polygon normal. Those one have white. I set every polygon to white. I haven't put color. I could put for the car. That would be nice, but I don't have the materials to put the glass, the main thing, and the tires to put a different color. I don't know. I would have to put a random number so I can. Guru shading. Now the back shading is weird. It's very dark. And texture mapping. A big texture that is shaded. Now this grid is excessive. I shouldn't have made it very. It shouldn't be split to many quads. I have a reason for that. The reason is that the texture mapping is still fine. It's not perspective correct yet. But it looks like perspective. I mean, there is a bit of distortion. It is perspective because of how much I have subdivided it. But this is very excessive. I might try to implement perspective correct. But suppose, look at the frame rate, and this, my CPU is 10 years old Intel i7, 4th generation. And I'm still running in single core. I haven't done SIMD optimization, no multi-core. I still want to work this in single core so that I figure out everything. And then I might start doing optimization. I don't want to jump too early on it. Let's make sure the single core is as optimized. But so many quads. I could go with affine mapping and make environments with subdivided polygons, make walls and ceilings and stuff with that speed. That's the funny thing. And you have the stars. The stars are, no matter how you move, they stay at the same position. It's only rotate. I have a flag to disable. I got that from my 3DO from Bizarro Untergrund, where I do the same. Disable translation, only do rotations. And I will do this, I will do a skybox. I will start implementing things from Bizarro Untergrund here. This is so detailed. I'm not even gonna use such model for my game. And this is pseudo environment mapping. It's pseudo environment mapping. It doesn't work well. With color lighting, ambient lighting, this is the dark. The texture is green. The texture is this. And this is GURO shading that uses, it just darkens the texture from full to this is adding an ambient light. Ambient light, RGB lighting. This is full RGB lighting, working on individual channel. And it looks kind of weird with this one because I need to see that. This texture was white normally, so I multiply the RGB. You don't see it on the green because there is only green, and it's very vibey. Now, because I want to see it in a different way, I press another number to have it full and dark. The ambient color is just a dark gray. If I put the pure, the GURO shading, it's too dark, it's too black, it's weird. This is pseudo environment mapping of a blob. Now, this one has vibes though. This is very vibey with the stars and everything. And the dark side. This is vibey. I did this blob on the grill to slowly shade. I changed the normal so that they get smaller or further away so that you get a fade out. And the frame rate is mostly okay. And we are on 720p. And this is not finished even. So you look at the texture fully, the filling grade, and you get this. You get enough frame rate. And also, I can put the armadillo. It's gonna be slower. Let's make things crazier. Here is the armadillo. Look at this, look at this. Why would I even use such a model? This is the line rendering, it's just thick. This is the polygon, micro polygons. GURO, environment mapping. With ambient and RGB lighting. And now in this view, I'm watching everything, all the objects. I might get, I made a counter and I might get 300,000 polygons. Without the armadillo, if I look everything, I get 100,000. And those are the visible, those are the ones I end rendering, not the ones I send. I send a lot of polygons, some of them are discounted because of backface culling. If you look here, polygons outside are discounted before rendered. Now the other thing. If you move here, frame rate gets better. If you move here, maybe put this on. And then, depending on where you look, and then because I look there, so there is an extra thing. I also got it from 3DO. I have some code where every object has a bounding box, and if the view frustum is not looking at if the bounding box is outside, like I'm looking here, not only it doesn't render the other object, It doesn't even do the transformation. I don't rotate the hundreds of thousands of points. I don't project. I don't do anything. I need to see if it's perfect because sometimes it seems like the armadillo is not yet in view and it starts, but this is, if you look there, everything is outside. If you start looking, and that's gonna be really helpful too. With a game, and I could also do some visibility. I could do BSP. I could do some full map with stuff. So it already has a lot of potential. And not only that, today, also I need to do the skybox. I was getting some skyboxes I want to use. Now this is a small one. This is the one I used on a 3DO experiment. I couldn't get, and maybe I scaled it down so that it fits in memory. But those are big ones, 2048 by 1000. I'm gonna make six grids around, and they don't need to be. I don't need to subdivide them like I did. Look. I'm going to subdivide this object generation grid. I will show you what I mean. Good. Now this is very small. I need to make it. This is not properly set. I have to find another way. I have this size thing. Good. You see, okay. First of all, polygons disappear. This is the same problem with the 3DO because now if things are outside, I discard. But it's not a problem. Those objects has so many polygons and you can go slow. If I don't fix it, which I will, I don't have the same. Look at the distortion though. You see it. Even when I fly, this is a fine mapping, of course. There is distortion. And that's what I noticed. Those objects are so detailed that I don't even need to do to do perspective correction if I wanted. And I might still try to implement. And also the polygon disappearing. Now, if you get inside, the polygons will disappear, but they will disappear because they should if you go so inside. Now, if you go close, they don't disappear. Because the detail is so good. That's the cool thing. So I never needed to do what I have to do on 3DO to handle the very close polygons, to subdivide them. But I can do it. I can subdivide if I want. I could also subdivide only the near one. There are so many more things you can do with this engine. But even then I said, yeah, who cares? Who cares? Just, you know. I have the teapot, the same teapot that maybe Choding has. Or this is the highest teapot. Now, I have a bit of an issue with this teapot. There are some polygons missing. You might notice that there are some thin polygons that disappear for some reason. I need to find why. And I think I know why. You see in the handle there. I think something with my precision when I'm calculating backface cal. I don't know. Also, I do it on floating point. I need to see it. Maybe the model loading is wrong. My model loading fails on something. There are other models that crash, for example, or don't load at all, or some of the polygons are not are the wrong orientation. And now the fun stuff. I went too far. And decided to implement bilinear filtering, which is slower, but look, man, glorious bilinear filtering. And bilinear filtering with Gouraud. So I look down now. There is true bilinear filtering, and the frame rate is 60. For a full screen 720p, without bilinear filtering, it went to 190 or something here. And even those are bilinear filtering. You might not be able to see, but it's bilinear cuts. And even the environment mapping is bilinear filtering. And here, for example, this specular is filtered. It's cool. And also, I added as a test blending. But the blending is a hacky thing. I don't have some alpha thing. I have alpha in the color, but I'm not yet. This is just a hack. And I had a reason I wanted to do. So now this is not correct. I just made, okay, if the color is too dark, start using blending. Here is like some shader effect. Some stuff are blended. So I'm doing bilinear filtering, blending, and it's not going to single digit. Remember, Choding was saying, I did this teapot and I don't get single digits. How is it possible? This flat shaded, gross shaded teapot, and I'm doing all these things. Of course, the frame rate suffer, and I can disable them. The reason I did this, I wanted to look at this. This is a picture of the sun flares and so on from NASA. I was just searching for random bit. It's 2048 by 2005. I wanted that the edges of this to blend with the stars. I wanted that I go here, and as you go inside, they stop blending with the stars. And I wanted this to blend with the star. I wanted this to look brilliant. The reason is that I noticed it was the texture. If I disable this, let's go here maybe. It was there. Yeah. The texture is cut off here. Now I can put this, Gouraud shading. This is not Gouraud, this is Gouraud shading. And you still see the seam. Now, in the future, I'll put alpha values in the points, and I will do it in another way. But that was the reason. And this is pure texture now, pure texture Gouraud. Frame rate when I look full like this. This is the no Gouraud shading. This one is special also. This one, because it was the ground, I have disabled Z buffer. I have a special version that is texture, no Z buffer. Everything else is doing Z buffer right now. Everything else is doing Z buffer. On 3DO, I'm doing polygon sorting. Here I just Go for full Z buffer. Everything is doing gross shading, texture mapping, filtering or not, RGB lighting, Z buffer. Now, why did I make? Now, this is Z buffer, it goes to 100 something. This is doing the Z buffer, and it's also doing the gross shading. It's going 100. Why? Because I will implement the skybox. I want to make a big skybox, and the skybox you don't need Z buffer. It's always you also don't need. This is also not doing gross shading. While this is doing gross shading, this is not doing gross. You need the simple texture, even affine, for such far away. Affine texture, no Z buffer, no gross, no anything. Very simple. Because it's gonna be much faster. Because typically the skybox is gonna cover the whole screen, while those objects there is less coverage unless you go close. Man, this engine is amazing. I'm so excited. It's just like, how is it even that fast? I mean, that fast for what it does. Okay, it might not be fast, but remember the Quinine Engine with 64 armadillos at 80 frames. Here one armadillo drops me at 20 frames. It's gonna be closer to the Vertex Array version, or even less. I even have triangle stats. So the triangle stats, I'll press I, info. Now you see the number change because it's not the total triangles I sent. It's the one that end up being rendered. So this thing rotates around and things are discarded by the backface scaling and other things. And also here, only the triangles from the tools that are inside the edges of the screen are rendered. You look there. See, the number is like that. You look there. It's just the ones on the quad. You look up there. 0. So only the ones that end up being sent for rendering are counted. But I process way more points and way more. I'm gonna put that information too. And when I look from high up, even this grid, I'm about 160,000. And I'm at 30 frames per second with all Guru texture, everything. That drops a lot. And if I am to put the armadillo, everything the armadillo is on screen. We're getting 350,000. And we're getting 20 frames per second, I don't know. So that's only the armadillo. Those are the visible, I guess. Now, I have Bugo here. It's just amazing. I need to capture the grid. 350. 19 frames per second. This one is getting 22. Gross shading. Flat shading. Wireframe dots. 43. Disable who pixel anti-aliasing. 58. Isn't that amazing? That's amazing. Full screen 1080p. 1080p is heavy. Yeah, it is heavy. I look down. The gross shaded. That's on 1080p. That should be slow. Dude. Two times for 4K, if it works. Is this 4K? I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure if it said there. I don't think this is 4K. Is it 4K? I'm gonna take a screenshot. Is it 4K? It seems to be 4K. Why is it 22? I was expecting that slower. Is it surely? Let's do bilinear filtering and have a blended. Let's just kill it. It is bilinear filtering. That can't be 4K. I thought it was worse in 4K. Oh, the blending. I'm doing the blending. I am doing the blending. Here is the blending. Bilinear filtering blending with the stars. Hot damn. How's this even possible? I thought the 4K was horrible. I mean, that's not a good frame rate, but that thing is still blending. Because I locked it to grow texture. I have global materials. I'm changing the global materials, but that torus never changes. So I can have materials per object that will insist against the global materials. It's 4K. The GoPixel stars. Unless my scale, the other thing I have now, and I have to figure out, I used to have this. If I put this, it's very small. Sometimes some things don't run well. Maybe now it's true for, oh, okay, maybe now it's true for, okay. Was it doing scaling down? You're okay, now it's, I get it. Now it's true for, okay. It was choosing a smaller resolution. That's the true 4K. And the Who pixels now, you see previously it was more than 2 pixels because it was doing the scale up. The Who pixel are, genuine 2 by 2 pixels depending on the move. On the sub-pixel position. Anyways, guys, that's it. Yeah, see, I wasn't running the 4K because of the... I do wonder if the other ones are worse because of that. And I was misled a bit. Like the 10, what does it do with the 1080? The 1080 is okay, but is it worse? And you can always do some 640. $640. And this is amazing. This is very exciting. And I think I should stop. I'm doing all these things, but I have to focus on actually making a game with this, making anything. I might not need to optimize everything. I could investigate certain things, but I could still go with a fine texture mapping, disable bilinear filtering, or I could have it as an option, I don't know, and start doing something. Maybe another first person game like Bizarro, but a bit different. And I have to stop here before the video gets interrupted and I lose everything. This is being so long. I guess see you next time. Bye.